of you, you've given the minority a voice, and this we don't take for granted. God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, the moral test of Parliament is not the size of its majority, but the constitutional courage of its minority. In Ghana's 9 parliaments, where the NDC commands a historically large majority and the MPP holds just 87 seats, the MPP minority has often functioned as the Republic's circuit breaker, insisting that constitutional procedure, oversight, and public accountability prevail over brute numbers. My dear editors, members of the press, we want to say this plainly. Article 162 of the 1992 Constitution does not simply acknowledge your work. It protects your freedom as essential to our democracy. It guarantees that press is free to question power at all times, and democracy forbids censorship or interference that would weaken your duty to inform, scrutinize, and challenge. Without that freedom, used with courage and integrity, every other institutional promise is reduced to words on paper. You are the guardians of the space between our national ideals and their fulfillment. Through your vigilance, you decide whether our democracy remains a living, accountable system or decays into mere performance, impressive in ceremony but empty behind the curtain of power. Our unlaw elders give us a warning in a proverb. Kokuvi says, he has covered his eyes with his hands and is using his jaw to see. It describes a deliberate silence, a choice to ignore what one clearly sees in order to avoid the consequence that truth might bring. It is that habit of seeing but pretending not to see, of knowing but refusing to speak. This is how constitutional democracies often begin to die. They rarely fall with tanks in the streets or gunfire in the night. Instead, they erode through the slow corrosion of conscience, the gradual acceptance of the gap between what the Republic promises and how it actually behaves. We sense the decay, yet, if there is silence, it will be allowed to spread. I am proud to say that you, the media, remain firm in opening up issues. But like we always say, there's more room for improvement. This gathering is not a party rally. It is a constitutional conversation for the public record. We speak today with an eye to the historians of tomorrow, who will ask whether we found the courage to speak when it mattered, or whether we watched in silence as the distance between our ideals and our nation actions grew too wide to close. I think I need to do. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been told that the economy is doing well. That is not in doubt. But the question is the economy doing well because there is prudent management of our economy, or that whether this government has introduced some social intervention programs that have in itself created an opportunity for young, ambitious Ghanaians? We hereby submit that the so-called gains were not born out of government's competence in the management of our economy. Rather, the IMF program, debt relief, rising commodity exports, reduced expenditure are the major reasons for the upswing in Ghana's economy, not a re-engineering of the economy. Therefore, my respected friend and colleague, Dr. Forson, must know that these facts expose the government's hypocrisy in telling us that they have prudently managed the economy. The much-touted fiscal consolidation has been attained on the back of a sharply cut expenditures for critical sectors, resulting in lower borrowing needs, and currency appreciation solely due to the weakening of the US dollar, which has led to preference for massive global investment in gold. Also, the debt restructuring, which we started under MPP while in government, in addition to the commodity export boom in gold and cocoa output, led to the big trade surplus which was recently announced. So since May 2023, Ghana has had a 3 billion from Ghana's IMF program, which in turn has unlocked light debt relief and financing. For example, in mid-2025, Ghana's Parliament approved a 2.8 billion restructuring deal with 25 official creditors, including China, France, the US, UK, and others. Under this agreement, all debt payments due through 2026 were rescheduled, effectively granting Ghana 2.8 billion in debt service relief it could play with in the budget. So once again, Ghana's economic fortune so far is tied to the IMF program and the windfall, not necessarily due to any re-engineering of the economy. Ladies and gentlemen, let me straight away zoom in to raise an issue of NDC's hypocrisy and double standards. In the 8th Parliament, when they were in opposition, they told the whole world that there was a need to pass an anti-LGBT law. Basically, they said that to protect our own culture, our religious beliefs, there's a need to pass a law that will criminalize any acts of lesbianism, gayism, etc. They were loud on the streets of Accra. They went into our villages, engaged the media, engaged religious leaders, engaged traditional rulers. 1 year down the line, they've been in office. They have gone quiet on this anti-LGBT law. We hear His Excellency the President play on words, claiming that the government was doing wider consultation to see how the law could be formulated in a better way. Really? But was it not the same law that they said it was okay to be passed? And again, when the mighty minority members decided through private members' bill to now pin them to their own principles, suddenly, after all the processes have been followed and approval given, and the motion was on the other paper, the NDC, through its majority leader, found a way of using procedure to claim that there was no such approval by the Speaker and tried to scapegoat the clerk to Parliament. As we speak, they have refused, neglected, and deliberately denied the people of Ghana that anti-LGBT law that they themselves spoke about. To make matters worse, our own curriculum, they have found space to introduce this promotion of sexual rights in the curriculum of our children. When they were exposed, this is what they had to say, that it was a mistake and that an anomaly. What an anomaly. When government documents have been printed, circulated, and signed by no less a person than the sector minister, and through the vigilance of the minority, you get exposed, you now say it was an anomaly. We don't accept this. We hold a view that the NDC used the anti-LGBT law only for power. And now that they are facing the reality, they want to find a way of running away from it. We will insist that they act by their own principle. Ladies and gentlemen, let me also address the issue of gold for reserves. We are not in any way opposed to that policy because the policy was started by us. We, the minority, are again not opposed to the institutionalization of a new vehicle to see to the implementation of that all-important policy. However, we have two major concerns. Concern number one, the establishment of the Gold Board as a regulator and also an operator is in a way directly encouraging galamsey activities. Our water bodies are being polluted. In fact, organized labor last year sounded an alarm and indicated that the galamsey activities have worsened. This government has failed to provide tangible evidence of its commitment in the fight against galamsey. It is clear that they are always involved in a PR gimmick, looking at the optics rather than the substance. They are interested in short-term gains. And today, we don't know whether the Gold Board makes a distinction between regularly mined gold or an illicit gold. All we know is that they are talking about their success story, the amount of gold or the tons of gold they have purchased. Yet, they fail to tell us whether or not there are measures to fight against illicit gold that are mined through galamsey activities. We are concerned because the future of this country is at stake. And the earlier this government took steps to protect the future of Ghana, the better. Second, we are also concerned about the IMF reported $240 million US as of September 2025. There seems to be some confusion between the Gold Board and the central bank. But we want to tell the central bank, participating in the activities, being part of the feast, and when there are issues, you run away and you want to put the blame squarely at the feet of Gold Board will not wash. The IMF says that the losses came by as a result of Bank of Ghana failing to protect our funds. How can you give money to Gold Board to buy gold and they make losses because of exchange rate differences? How can you be paying fees that by law you are not entitled to pay? How can there ever be a justification that in rolling out a policy there is an economic cost? Let me remind the central bank that His Lordship, Justice Afre of blessed memory, in the Salome case, laid down the ground rules, especially the true definition of causing financial loss. The central bank must not forget this. what is happening amount to a financial loss to the state. We are also aware that respected and senior legal experts within government seem to have warned on this. It is filtered through to us. Therefore, we urge the central bank to immediately take steps to address this. Though we've become aware that there was a joint board meeting between central bank and the gold board as a result of the concerns raised by the minority, of which there was a conclusion that artisanal mining model should now go for 9.75 for bullion and 9.55 for unprocessed gold, which is a reduction from the previous 15%. Much as this is commendable, we still think that there are still losses that would have to be considered. We are also aware that central bank is saying that it wants to give some moratorium of 1 month to allow for further deliberations amongst the various parties, the Ministry of Finance, Gold Board, and government, on a sustainable cost-sharing structure for the program. So indeed, if the minority was merely blowing hot air, why have they now decided through joint board meeting to take steps to ensure a sustainable cost structure? We are concerned about these losses. We believe that if indeed we are going to have a gold for oil reserves, the government must take steps to sustain it by ensuring that there is real profit. The approach they have adopted will not help the country. We need money to build roads, to construct hospitals, to build schools, to create jobs. And if the central bank is going to underwrite some of these artificial losses and turn around to tell us that it's an economic cost, we regret to say that the minority will not accept this. We are open to discussions on this matter, and just as we always do, we'll put forward our views. We also want to say that we filed a motion in Parliament. We have become aware that the Speaker has admitted the motion, which would allow for broader engagement and consultation on this matter. We urge the various stakeholders in this Gold for Oil Reserve to open up to hear our views so that together we can move this country forward. Ladies and gentlemen, I will proceed to state that at a recent World Economic Forum in Davos, the Canadian Prime Minister delivered a message to the global elite that they did not want to hear. He warned that the old order is not coming back. He described a new world in which major powers use tariffs, supply chains, and financial systems as open tools of pressure and control. He urged that what we call, quote, rules-based international order, unquote, has for many become an exercise in living within a lie, unquote. A system countries feel obliged to join, while privately knowing it no longer works as advertised. For a smaller economy like Ghana, this is not an abstract debate. It is a direct challenge. It means we cannot rely on comfortable stories of mutual benefit when the structures of global integration are being used as instruments of leverage. This new world demands three clear responses from Ghana. First, we must build a truly strong and resilient domestic economy. We need enough strategic autonomy that no outside power can bend us through debt traps, currency games, or control over one key export. Economic sovereignty cannot remain a slogan. it must become the solid foundation of an independent foreign policy. Second, we must deliberately diversify our international relationship. We must deepen ties across Africa and engage carefully with traditional partners in the United States, European Union, UK, China, Canada, and with emerging powers, without surrendering our sovereignty to any single dominant player. Third, and most important, we must root our foreign policy in the constitutional values we live by at home. A so-called pragmatic foreign policy that turns a blind eye to impunity, corruption, and injustice inside our borders is not realism. It is a performance of sovereignty that hides a quiet acceptance of dependence. We cannot project moral clarity abroad if we refuse to practice it at home. Take Ghana's ambition to mediate between ECOWAS and the Alliance of Sahel States. It is a worthy and necessary goal, and it reflects the traditional leadership role Ghana often claims. But moral authority is never something a country can simply declare. It is earned gradually through steady action at home. It rests on the integrity of a nation's own institutions. A government that tolerates opaque, loss-making schemes orchestrated by the central bank, that turns prosecution into political weapon, that attacks judicial independence by unconstitutionally removing a chief justice, and that allows ongoing destruction of our rivers, is steadily destroying the very credibility it wishes to display abroad. Real sovereignty in diplomacy is built on domestic accountability. A nation earns the right to be a principled foreign policy by making its own society more resilient, transparent, and just, so that it is less vulnerable to pressure and less easily silenced. Before Ghana can credibly reconcile other nations, it must first bring its own practice into line with its proclaimed values. Our influence abroad will always be limited by the strength of our integrity at home. And by the way, we have seen that my Lord Bafuboni and his management are all over at the various ministries, including Jubilee. Is he on a thank you tour? Is my Lord Bafuboni on a thank you tour, thanking the government for appointing him as a Chief Justice? And we hear today he is coming to Parliament. We, the minority, don't see him as a tolerant head of the judiciary, because members of the minority came under attack when we criticized the processes leading to his nomination. We will therefore not be part of his thank you tour. If he wants to engage us, our offices are open. He should come and engage us, and we'll let him know things that we find wrong. Colleagues, members of the media, let me emphasize that the macroeconomic figures from last year, although real on the surface, encouraging as well, we are aware that inflation has dropped from a peak in the 20s to single digits. We are aware that government is now touting it as its own successes. But instead of welcoming, we must ask, stability for whom and at what long-term costs? Think of economic policy as a bridging connecting the state to its citizens. On one side of that bridge are the conference rooms in Accra, where ministers display tidy charts and quote IMF reports. On the other side are the markets of Efutu, the busy streets of Tamale, and the households of Takwa, where Ghanaians experience the economy not as statistics, but are struggles with food prices, utility bills, and the search for decent work. In 2025, that bridge broke. Inflation fell on paper, but the cost of a simple meal remained beyond reach for many families. Growth accelerated in the aggregate, but around 1.25 million young people were left outside employment, education, or training. A generation waiting on the margins. Macroeconomic stability improved, yet an estimated majority of water bodies are polluted, and energy sector debt still sits in the billions of dollars. This gap has a clear cause. The current stabilization rests heavily on the tight IMF conditions. New levies imposed on already burdened citizens and continued dependence on the same narrow export of gold and cocoa. Now, instead of introducing reforms in the energy sector, they decided to impose levies. Remember that they said e-levy was bad and they were going to scrap it. They were going to outlaw it. And Ghanaians celebrated them when they repealed the e-levy. But let's look at some numbers. They took away e-levy, but utility tariffs alone, so far, we have seen an excess of 27%. Electricity tariffs, under Akufo-Addo, where we were paying e-levy at 1.5%. And they were telling us, the NDC told us that it is too much. Today, electricity tariffs have gone up in excess of 27%. That is NDC hypocrisy for you. They also came to Parliament in the dead of night to introduce the Dumso levy, which upon our scrutiny, they decided to suspend it. But again, in the dead of night, they started the implementation. So Ghanaians are being burdened with all these levies, yet they claim that they are a caring government. Let me repeat that the current stabilization rests heavily on the tight IMF conditions. And like I said, they've imposed new levies. Deep structural weakness from inefficiencies in the energy sector to bottlenecks in agriculture remain largely untouched. This is not transformation. It is a postponement of crisis wrapped in a polished statement. So for agriculture, let me ask our respected colleague, Eric Opoku. He is a very intelligent parliamentarian. I don't doubt his understanding of the agro sector. But talk is cheap. It is not about his talking. Today I want to ask my respected colleague, Honorable Eric Opoku, the minister responsible for agriculture, to hold a press conference and tell Ghanaians the real policies that have been introduced to help promote agriculture. There is none. In the fishery sector, the least said about them, the better. So really, this government talks so much in opposition, but in government, there is nothing they've done in the agro and the fisheries sectors to promote growth, and we see it in that field. I'm sure later Dr. Iwai Opoku would expatiate on this with the numbers for you. Now they promised 24-hour economy. And the 24-hour economy, they said, one job, 3 shifts. So each job will carry 3 people. And they said, oh, even if you want to do farming, there will be a system where you can farm at night. They said, oh, you can sell your wachi in the night. That's what they told us. But today, after voting for them, what do we see? Even Ghanaian youth who gained employment as far back as 2017 were all sacked. when the minority introduced a motion to question the Chief of Staff's letter directing these mass dismissals, the first strategy that the majority deployed was to hold a preliminary objection, which the first deputy speaker came with an already prepared written ruling even before he heard the argument. And when we filed a motion for review of this repugnant ruling, Mr. Speaker found a way of denying us a voice. It is taking 8 months, an important matter that affects the livelihood of Ghanaians. And I want Ghanaian youth to hear this. Matters that would involve the restoration of their jobs. Parliament refused to give the minority a voice. They use procedure. Each time we raise it, they told us, oh, the speaker says he wants to preside himself, the speaker will preside himself. Till date, we've not been able to conclude on the debate on that motion. And Parliament is going to reconvene again on the 3rd of February 2026. We want to assure the many youths who have been rendered unemployed as a result of that letter that we will not relent. We will fight for them until they gain their employment back. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, we submit further that this government has failed the Ghanaian people in the most basic duty of a modern state, to move its citizens safely and decently from one part of their own country to another. In 2026, at major terminals from Circle to Kaneshi and Medina, hundreds of Ghanaians are stranded for hours because the national fleet has collapsed from over 1,000 public buses to barely more than 100 in operation. While more than 400 Metro Mass buses rot in garages or have even been sold off as scrap, commuters are headed into overcrowded trotros or priced out by artificial scarcity, not because Ghana lacks engineers or planners, but because this administration cannot even maintain a functional public transport system and has reduced policy to press conferences while people sleep in queues. This same culture of negligence has bled into our foreign policy, where careless performative diplomacy has now helped land Ghana on a shameful list of countries whose citizens can no longer obtain immigrant visas to the United States. The US government has announced an indefinite pause on immigrant visa processing for 75 countries, including Ghana, cutting off a critical legal pathway for family reunion and skilled migration at precisely the moment our economy depends heavily on remittances from hard-working Ghanaians abroad. The United States is our single largest remittance corridor, sending between $1.5 to $2.5 billion a year into Ghanaian households. Yet through a mixture of short-sighted posture and weak consular statecraft, this government has allowed our citizens to be lumped into a penalty list that will slowly suffocate that lifeline and diminish Ghana's contribution to solving global problems. A serious government will treat our transportation system and immigrant visas as instruments of national survival, not as afterthoughts. This one has managed to trap its own people twice, stranded at home in endless, dehumanizing transport queues, and stranded behind a new wall of visa restrictions. Its diplomacy was too clumsy, too reactive, and too self-satisfied to prevent. The minority, therefore, is calling for immediate, concrete action in the transport sector, for an emergency program to restore the state bus fleet and saturate the worst hit corridors with reliable services so that no Ghanaian is left stranded for hours simply trying to get to work or back home. On the diplomatic front, the minority has demanded the dismissal of the foreign minister and ambassador to the United States and urged the president to deploy a high-level special envoy to Washington and constitute a crisis task force to secure Ghana's prompt removal from the U.S. immigrant visa-free list and protect the billions in remittance on which millions of Ghanaian households depend. Ladies and gentlemen, public trust is further undermined by a visible pattern of selective justice. Former NPP officials have been pursued with vigor, while figures associated with the NDC facing similar questions have not attracted the same urgency. At the same time, serious concerns around financial transparency at the highest level of our monetary system have gone largely unaddressed. When the law is enforced according to political power, color, rather than evidence, we are no longer dealing with the rule of law. We are watching a performance of the rule of law, a scripted play in which the audience knows the ending before the curtain rises, but the show continues to preserve appearances. The MPP minority has resisted rushed and opaque lawmaking, including attempt to force through certain held financing measures without required parliamentary quorum. We have repeatedly insisted on transparency. These actions are not partisan games. They are necessary steps to narrow the dangerous gap between what our constitution says and how power is actually exercised. The New Patriotic Party, the mighty minority, has learned its lessons from defeat. We concede that we couldn't have been perfect in government. We know that there were some mistakes that were made. We take collective responsibility. Our responsibility now is deeper, and we assure Ghanaians that we in Parliament will continue to lead the charge even as we finish our flag bearership race on 31st of January 2026. Our main task thereafter would be to win back the trust and mandate of the Ghanaian people by rallying behind our elected new leader, work hand in hand with him to go through his vision and ensure that we put forward a responsible opposition and provide alternatives. We've done it before. When the NPP was in opposition in the 90s and we finally had power in the 2000s, the people of Ghana know what the Kufuor administration did. We introduced the health insurance policy, a policy that the NDC never dreamed of, a policy that the NDC doubted, a policy that the NDC in Parliament boycotted its passage. Yet today, that is what has saved millions of Ghanaians. Again, when we were in opposition between 2009 and 2016, and we promised free SHS, the NDC told us we could not implement. The people of Ghana are aware that when the grace of God gave us the opportunity to govern, we saw the implementation of the free SHS. However imperfect it was, the policy was implemented. Many Ghanaian youth who ordinarily could not have had an opportunity to have secondary education had the opportunity of being educated. What is left after this government had taken office is to take it to a higher level, use the opportunity created to build human resource capacity to create jobs. They've shut down the 1D, 1F policy. In its place, no alternative. So Ghanaian businesses are left in a state of uncertainty. There is no incentive for the private sector. So we ask, what is the trade minister doing What is the trade minister doing? We can in the least describe her as a redundant minister with no policy to promote economic growth. Now let us turn to the lithium. We want to deal with the lithium agreement. When the NDC was in opposition, they questioned the lithium agreement that was before Parliament. But upon assuming office, the agreement was brought, reintroduced, in a very worse state. When the minority exerted pressure on the minister and government, they came through the back door to now withdraw the paper, the agreement, claiming that they are now going through further consultation. The question is, at the time Honorable Ama Kofi-Boa was defending this new agreement on the House floor, didn't he know that he needed to do further consultation? At the time that he challenged the sincerity of the minority, up until civil society joined the call, was he being fair to the people of Ghana? Was he being transparent? We reiterate again the call on the Minister of Land and Natural Resources to resign because he failed the people of Ghana. The minority interrogated the reduction in royalties from 10 to 5%. We carried the questions further regarding the lapses in the transparency of the whole agreement. He defended it, and now he came back to withdraw it. That alone amounts to a serious mischief. That alone is a policy failure that the minister cannot get away with. Ladies and gentlemen, let me now turn attention to a disturbing matter on the House floor, which we promise the people of Ghana that when Parliament commences, reconvenes on the 3rd of February, we are no more going to allow the majority to have its way. The majority has turned Parliament into a Parliament of fast track and no scrutiny. A rubber stamp Parliament where everything comes under certificate of urgency. They should be ready to beat us in the chamber. We will resist with all the energy in us. No more certificate of urgency. They had their way in the passage of the Gold Board law, the Energy Sector Recovery Levy, the Dumso Levy. They also introduced its certificate of urgency, and many more other laws that they pass it through certificate of urgency without any scrutiny. We hereby sound a caution to the NDC majority. If they are not ready to read, we are ready to read. We all became aware that their 189 only exists in numbers. That's right. When it comes to substance, they can't match the length of the trousers of the minority. They only talk numbers. But we all know that even in the passage of laws, when it comes to quality debates, we do proper research and we argue on facts supported with data. What they come into the chamber to do is their propaganda. But come 2026, this 2026, they will never have their way. We will hold their feet to the fire and ensure that each minister account for his stewardship. We know that 2026 budget is a chop-chop budget. We know that 2026 budget is a chop-chop budget. We are going to open our eye and scrutinize every contract, every document that goes to PPA. The minority will follow it and bring motions. And we hereby also plead with Mr. Speaker that he is doing Ghana's work and is doing the work for the growth of democracy. We are aware Mr. Speaker is an NDC leading member, but where he sits, he is to protect both of us. We have been frustrated by numerous dismissal of our motions. Questions are delayed. Questions are declined. Issues that must be allowed to be debated on the House floor, we see subtle culture of silence being introduced, and procedural roadblocks are used to deny us opportunity. But we want to pray, Mr. Speaker, most humbly, that he should prioritize substance over form. That is the rule of equity. He should prioritize prudence over procedure and allow debate to flow. We will not sit idly by and allow the majority to use their numbers to deny us our duty in ensuring that there is proper oversight. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude by promising that we will not renege on our fundamental duties to the Constitution. We will fight for the people of Ghana. And in doing so, we will not be obstructive. We will scrutinize, hold government to account, ensure that just as we did in 2025, where we brought up issues to the limelight, we're going to repeat same. And this time around, we are going to do so even as we are done with all our internal elections, that we now have a leader, and we are going to do so with a firm determination and assurance that come 2028, the NPP deserves to come back into office. This presser may not be done and done well without at least talking about this third term agenda. We are aware that Mr. President himself says he's not interested in third term agenda. But we take this opportunity to also mention to Mr. President. Now, Mr. President, we are aware that many of your party members want to put the agenda. Please tell them one more time. Maybe when you said so in Singapore, they didn't hear you. Mr. President, you haven't spoken about your non-interest in third term in Ghana. Please, tell your people that you are not interested at all. They shouldn't lead you into temptation. And by the way, it is not possible. Also, we have heard that certain people have filed certain processes at the court. We also have this to tell my Lord Bafoboni. We know that this job was handed to you on a silver platter. We know that you have your masters to please. But my Lord Bafoboni, in the end, when history is being written, it will be your name. And to our judges at the Supreme Court, Ghanaians are watching how you determine the matters that are coming before you. Will question your own integrity. When you came for vetting, you made certain commitment to the people of Ghana. Ghanaians heard you. So again, the mighty minority is watching you. We will not be silenced by threat of contempt. If by criticizing the judiciary, they will march us into Nsawam, we are ready to become prisoners of conscience. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Arise, Ghana, you for your country. The nation demands your devotion. Let us all unite to uphold them and make them great and strong. We are all involved. We are all involved. We are all involved in the
Thank you. I can't say thank you enough for the wonderful submission by the leader of the mighty minority, the leader of the 87 Infantry Battalion. We will now open up the conversation to our friends from the media. If there is any question, we are ready to take. My colleague, Honorable Jerry Ahmed Shaib, will be doing the justice. If you have any concern, you raise up your hand. Here he is going to play the role of a speaker. If you catch his eye, if you catch the eye of the Member of Parliament for Wager, then we'll be able to do justice to that. So now the floor is open for our friends from the media. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Kweku Sechidanso from GhanaMPs.com. I just want to find out from the minority if there are plans outside of internal context to bring colleagues together, because we see what is going on, since you want to stand firm and hold government accountable. Thank you.
Next person.
Please, you announce your media.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Joshua Ghana Page, and host of the constituency. Leader, you mentioned that Ghanaians agree with the quality of debate advanced on the floor of Parliament by the minority. Emphatically, you call for the dismissal of the Foreign Affairs Minister. Are there other ministers you want to see go, or is it just a dislike for the Foreign Affairs Minister? And is it not a situation where the job at hand is bigger than the labourers on the floor, regards the number of ministers John Dramani Mahama has appointed and discussed them? You also mentioned that the majority has 189. Have you already considered Adawaso East to the majority?
Yes, any other please? Okay.
No, three. That's second. There's a third one.
Okay, graphic. No, Joy, then I come to graphic.
My name is James Abeji with Joy News. On the transport crisis in Accra and the other cities, the minority leader talks about the state of the state transport system and how government is not adding up to the numbers. In our recent interview with the Metro Mass Transit boss, he talks about the fact that some of these buses that have been disposed were done under the previous government. Minority leader, I want to ask if you can give us some details about some of these decisions to dispose of some of these buses. I also know that you initiated an electric bus project before you left government to purchase about 100 buses, then have been brought. The status of that, is it supposed to be continued by the recent government, and if you have any update on adding up to the numbers? Plus, if there is any solution you can prefer to government on this. Thank you.
The minority leader will respond to these three questions before we take the next batch.
So let me deal with the first issue of post 31st January in Parliament. As you may be well aware, we've had a very civil engagement from Parliament. We, the 87, those colleagues who have been engaged in this discourse have done so with all civility. I want to assure you that these are internal matters. As for politics, things get heated. Soon after, we all rally behind the leader and the MPP flag to push the party agenda and to let Ghanaians know what we have for them. But you see, the NDC is busy talking about us. What they've also forgotten is that they also have a leadership contest awaiting them. And do so also be fish. Omo de nipo de kan kra. Sesi a obe hu no ase dun katia o se o thank you to. Meanwhile no campaign. They are hu say Aisa aban won your own preferred candidate. Jubilee House for so mo candidate. Or be flag bearer amom na party no so one candidate. Nti enche bi ebedu omoso. But the person can say MPP there. Nyame ya adoma after 31st. Ya war parliament. Ya real tasu se kwen bia so no. Ye de baku ye enka bom ebetai ni obe wini nechi. Na ye nyina ya boa ma party na akone kan. Nti no NDC for mundri omo no mudi omo fi asem. Ya nhwe kra na ebia by mid this year Omampei Mahama eba be lame that president because obia pay to me wo show omumu a vice president also onu so be the president and then I'm saying yet say onu afa haruna edrusa ya no running mate yet ya ne say chief of staff Julius Debra onu so nam ne kwan onu so be president edi onu so o say ne running mate any fifi kwete yet a majority leader ono so onam ne baby onini ablakwa omuso yo omu permutation yemia finance minister ono so omose obedi president ono so prepare no running mate nti ade no atasa o bebia yemia erikopoku ono agric minister one kasa wo ministry okra no sika ezezo omodi mawo na wodi ye kwadwuma kro mo fama wo so be di president ono openi the difference between opposition and government our opposition ani kati brofo akase and obedi minister sika odi be ye adwuma kra mpo no aya asema ma no ono so obedi president NDC for there no ebe huhu nti omundi omufi asem na omunja ye de man back to quality of debate. Yes, I mean ladies and gentlemen of the press, I don't think that there is any debate on this matter. Check the records. We have become formidable opposition because each one of us, in fact, if you look at the first timers on our side, it's so reassuring that MPP indeed has a future. I told somebody that in future it may be very difficult to make some selections because all of them are competent, all of them are determined, all of them have what it takes to deliver. So as for that one, it comes without question. Now on the issue of the foreign minister, my colleague, we in the minority, we don't attack personalities. Follow the consistency in my public discourse and that of my colleagues. We don't do personality attack, no. From the vetting to the house floor to all engagement, we raise issues. How can our foreign minister have an engagement with some ambassadors, write on social media, and the next day we hear of an embargo? How can you claim that Israel deported some Ghanaians and without engaging, you also go ahead to say retaliation? You know, when we were kids, right? There were times that when somebody is provoking you, then you say that, unim se unya penny wo hunti, and I will yes sir. So you are careful. If our foreign minister was that measured, he would have known that attacking Israel had consequences. I'll leave it here. A word to a wise is enough. So we don't have anything personal against anybody. In serious democracies, when a policy fails, the minister resigns. How can the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources come to Parliament and to defend an agreement, only to do U-turn to withdraw it for further consultation? Any serious democracy, you have to resign. So that call on him to resign is not born out of our dislike for him. Our call on Honorable Ablako to resign is not born out of any dislike or any ill will. There's a clear foreign policy failure. He's not walked the path of his predecessors, who took foreign policy to higher levels. Even recently in ECOWAS, Ghana has lost out on a lot of vacancies that arose at ECOWAS, all because we thought we were eyeing an AU chair for His Excellency the President next year. What of if the countries we are relying on resolve? Ghana is a regular contributor. In fact, we don't fail in our contributions to ECOWAS. Go for the records. We've lost out in employment in ECOWAS. Institutional heads, 0. Main employment, technical staff, the ECOWAS civil servant. Ghana contributes so much, but we are losing out. So what is the foreign minister doing? On the Metro Mass issue, we are going to call on the Minister of Transport when Parliament resumes to answer questions regarding why they sat down for a whole year without putting in place measures to beef up the fleet levels. It again exposes the minister's lack of clear vision for the transport sector. But would bid our time, put together a paper by the appropriate committee of the caucus, and hold the minister's feet to the fire when Parliament resumes. So bear with us. We want to do the right thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we'll take the next set of questions. Okay.
Our colleague, the sector head, is here, and he would want to expatiate a bit on this. So please bear with him.
The ranking member on transport. After that, you ask your question.
Yeah, before you come, since he's the chairman of the transport.
Is your question related to the same? And you ask any further question?
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, in leader's presentation, I heard him accuse this government of failing to institute a properly functional state transport. But per recent report we read, during your administration...
Did he accuse them, or that's the reality?
He blamed this government.
Yes, but is that the reality or is an accusation?
So if the question, then you can answer. But we all know that the problem that we are facing today in terms of Ghanaians having easy access to public transportation has existed over the years during your 8-year administration. I in Accra take public transport, and I always go through tough time as sector getting access to public transport, and the unbearable first transport operators are charged. But we know that during your administration, there is a report that about 330 to 400 Metro Mass buses that were auctioned, so as cheap as low as 2,500 some of your cronies. We don't want to deny this report, because if you fail to deny it, then we can also attribute the current challenge to some of your administration plans.
Please, can you reframe your question? Why is one an accusation and one a report? You are saying that there is a report that was an auction.
The accusation is that...
And then you said the other one is an accusation. So is that one too not an accusation? What's your last sentence?
No. Two issues here. The accusation is that, one, the minority leader is blaming this government of failing to institute a functional state transport. As a government, we just, as a party, we just exited power in 2024. We all saw that the very issue that you are accusing this government of When you don't have an administration.
Okay, it's okay. Let me respond.
I think thank you very much. I think your question is clear. So let me respond to the earlier one with regard to the auction of Metro Mass buses. A lot of people don't know what goes into the processes before any bus is auctioned. Let me take my time to educate. Yes. No, in the auctioning of the buses that you are talking about, before any bus is being auctioned, it has to be certified by the Board of Survey. It is not true that buses were sold at a peanut. No movable buses were sold to any cronies. It is a palpable lies which being thrown out because of the recent event that is happening under this government. They are trying to just equalize, make an equalization. So I just want to let you know that it is palpable lies. If they want any full inquiry into the matter, like the leader said, once we resume, the minority is going to call for that. And we will have a public inquiry for Ghanaians to know the truth behind. Let us face the fact. There are challenges. Ghanaians are suffering to have, commercial transportation to their works and to travel around, and that is the most difficult thing, the problem that we have at hand. And I expect every Ghanaian to be concerned about it, to find a solution to it. We on the minority side will continue to assist the government with whatever ideas that we need to. So that is what I want to say. On the electric buses, yes, the previous government ordered 100 buses. The idea was that we want to bring 10 to try it, because that was the first time that we were adding EV buses to our fleet. So the idea was that after the 10, we'll bring back the 90. But we lost power. We were expecting this administration, this new government, to bring in the 90 buses, which already all arrangement had been done. They have decided not to bring the buses. It is up to Ghanaians to put fire on their feet and ask them why they have not brought those buses. So please, these are the facts on the ground, and I know most Ghanaians knows about it. So let us be factual about some of these matters, so that we don't, in an attempt to make any equalization, we try to put out some falsehood, which at the end of the day, we will not be able to authenticate it. So that is what I want to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We will take the main set of questions, the next set of questions.
Good morning. My name is Marita Manano. My name is Marita from Nanano Bloggers. My question is that what steps is the minority taking to address the many hospitals and other key projects initiated by the former government that has now been stored?
Honorable Jerry, he's done. Yes, next.
Thank you. My name is Atamis. I work for the News. Minority leader, as you said in your presentation, that the minority will resist any bill that will come under certificate of urgency. And I was wondering, because when the pandemic issue came up, even though the minority protested vehemently and even took the center stage of the chamber, but the majority was able to pass 8 estimates at that time. In spite of the chaos, in the midst of the chaos, they continued because they had the knowledge. So, how serious can we take this issue? Because we could not even sustain the protest. It is only that day that you protested. The next day you competed with that. How do you take this serious? Thank you.
This question, even before the minority leader come, I don't know how you are talking about resistance and then the protests on that time. We are talking about 2026 and we are talking about 2025. We are 1 year behind. So let's make progress.
Thank you very much. My name is Valencia from GBC. I think my question is in line with what my senior colleague was talking about. So in his presentation, he made mention that the minority will not allow the majority to have its way this time. So we want to find out what way or what are some of the moves you're going to do. Are you going to be working out the team like what we saw in the previous setting, or what moves are you going to do if the majority continues government business regardless of your objection?
My sister, if you listen to my sister, if you listen to the minority leader very well, he said unless they beat us. So the walkout is not an option here. And you know, that's the leader. We are the whips. So come out with a strategy. But the last sitting, the certificate of agency were too many. And after that, you now see that they are coming back for amendment of the bills that they have just passed into laws because they rush it. They now realize that there are problems. They are coming with amendment. Even Goldberg, they will come with an amendment. Wait and see, because there are serious problems there. So that is why he is saying that we are ready to read. If they are not ready to read, we are ready to read and scrutinize every document. So rushing it, there are a lot of strategy as to how we can take it, and we understand it better than them.
But Chief, I'm wondering who discusses this strategy. We should not tell you our strategy. I don't get it.
Thank you. My name is Christian. With the insight and measure. Today I'm concerned about the losses you mentioned regarding the gold for reserves. Our Bank of Ghana records indicate that during your tenure, especially between 2022 to 2024, there were significant losses under the royal gold for reserves. The Bank of Ghana governor admits to the losses and is looking forward to solutions. It's called for an all-stakeholder engagement to find the way forward. Are you ready to sit at the table with Gold Board, Bank of Ghana in finding a solution to the challenges? Thank you.
You want to take the question?
The Bank of Ghana one will respond.
Okay. So, Person said you want to know about the losses. You see, it would always be convenient for someone to engage in, blame game and say that, oh, something happened yesterday, so why must you question me if same thing is happening today? Granted, without admitting that indeed there were some losses in the previous years, didn't they come to say that they are resetting Ghana? And aren't they supposed to do things better than they came to meet it? So the fact that there were some mistakes, just for the sake of argument, means that I cannot question you if you're doing something wrong. I mean, I don't get the logic in there. But be that as it may, we have filed a motion, and that motion has been admitted. Hopefully, we'll have an opportunity to do the scrutiny, and the governor would have to explain the actions of the central bank. Although, like I said, we have also become aware that they had a joint board meeting where the charges that were already originally or previously around 15% have all been brought down. 9.7, let me get the correct figures. I don't want to. When we're dealing with numbers, we have to deal with numbers properly, so I don't want to. No, it's on the one paper. It's on a single document. Yes, it's here. We have 9.75 for the bullion and 9.55 for unprocessed gold. Previously, it was 15%. So you see, the minority scrutiny has yielded some gains. If the government thought all was well,
you are still watching Channel 1 Television. I am Samuel Akom. Just gone by is the minority in Parliament addressing some key issues. And to delve more into these matters, I have with me Head of News, Nana Tufo-Boateng, to bring us the details. So welcome, and what were the key highlights for you with this particular press conference?
Very well. So basically what the minority is doing is to speak to 1 year of its scrutiny in the 9th Parliament of Ghana, and Alexander Fenyomakin, being the minority leader, was the one that addressed this particular press conference, giving us a highlight of almost all the things that have transpired within the first year of the second administration of John Dramani Mahama as president of Ghana. And the minority, of course, will touch on the economy, will touch on like governance, will touch on corruption and the likes. And on the economy, the minority began the conversations around the gold board. And according to the minority, the establishment of the gold board as a regulator and again a player in the industry encourages activities of illegal mining, what we popularly call galamsey. They believe that gold board, being the one to regulate the pricing of gold that is traded within the country and of course with foreign traders, and of course the absence of the implementation or enforceability of the traceability clause in the Gold Board Act makes room for some illegal activities to go on. There raise issues on the destruction of the environment, the pollution of our water bodies, and call that some swift action is undertaken or implementation of some laws to ensure some sanity or protection of our environment. Still within that same activities of the Gold Board, the minority rehashed its position on the reported $214 million losses as captured. Have them also touch on the judiciary, Ghana's judiciary, and say, in fact, they actually took a swipe at in recent times has visited a number of state institutions. The minority is raising a question as to whether or not the Chief Justice is on a thank you tour. Ironically, the Chief Justice is paying a courtesy call on the Speaker of Parliament today. And the minority says they would not be part.
They were supposed to be part of that engagement.
In fact, they say they would not be part of that engagement. They describe the Chief Justice as intolerant and say that
sounds a bit harsh.
Indeed. But there is questions as to how some members of Parliament on the minority side were treated when they went for some applications at the court and all that, and then some other issues that the minority spoke of.
They mentioned something about the Foreign Affairs Minister calling for his resignation as well. We know all that is happening regarding our foreign policy, our diplomatic relations in recent times.
Recall that the Mahama administration, when it took over in January of last year, made some donations to the Republic of Palestine.
Yes.
Subsequently, We've had some back and forth with Israel, where there's been some deportation and all that. Recently, the capture of Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela by the U.S. President Donald Trump, and the subsequent statement issued by our Foreign Affairs Minister. The minority has, in a previous press conference, called for the dismissal or resignation of the Foreign Affairs Minister, saying that a country's diplomacy or foreign policy cannot be toyed with, in their own words, or as they claim, the way and manner in which it is going. And so they insist on the dismissal or removal of the Foreign Affairs Minister, as well as Ghana's ambassador to the United States. On that end, based on, if you like, commentary surrounding the arrest and detention of Ken Oforiatta, and of course reports on Sedina Tamakluationu, also in the United States.
So I was about asking you, what solutions or strategies are they proposing? I mean,
well, the minority has outlined a number of issues, and this press conference was particularly to, if like, rehash their scrutiny of government as the minority side in the 9th Parliament. What they were emphatic on was their availability to engage, especially regarding the losses as reported by the IMF. You would obviously have the minority also speak about the 9th Parliament itself, where they say that the previous sitting or the session was characterized by, if like, a rubber stamp approach, where the majority would always push bills through a certificate of urgency and have them, they say they will resist same, and of course not allow the majority to have its way so easily as it appears. They wrapped up that official presentation by Afenyo Markin with the 3rd term bid for John Mahama, as has been the conversation in some circles. And they say that this is not possible.
Thank you so much, Nana.
Absolute pleasure.
Watching Head of News here at Channel 1 Television and City FM. But away from that, let's move to our afternoon bulletin. So hello and welcome to Newsfeed on Channel 1 Television. I am Samuel Akom. Coming up, minority in Parliament describes Chief Justice Paul Bafuboni as an intolerant head of the judiciary. And also coming up, Greater Accra Regional Security Council demolishes temporary structures along Kweshi Lagoon. And coming up in business, government begins procurement processes for rice millers to mill excess paddy rice. And later in sport, Asante Kotoko head coach Abdul Karim Zito expresses satisfaction with team's performance over the weekend. Let's settle for the details of our stories now. The minority in Parliament has slammed the Chief Justice, Justice Paul Bafuboni, describing him as intolerant head of the judiciary. The caucus states that its members were attacked following concerns expressed over processes surrounding his appointment by the president. Addressing journalists, the minority leader Alexander Peyo-Markin says the caucus will not partake in a scheduled engagement with the Speaker of Parliament today.
It's my Lord Bafuboni on a thank you tour, thanking the government for appointing him as a Chief Justice. And we hear today he is coming to Parliament. We, the minority, don't see him as a tolerant head of the judiciary, because members of the minority came under attack when we criticized the processes leading to his nomination. We will therefore not be part of his thank you tour. If he wants to engage us, our offices are open. He should come and engage us, and we'll let him know things that we find wrong.
The Greater Accra Regional Security Council, in collaboration with National Security and the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, is demolishing temporary structures along the Kweshi Lagoon. Speaking in an interview, the Director General of NADMO, Dr. Joseph Bikanyi Kunyon, said authorities will not allow the interests of a few individuals to override those of the larger population.
Knows why we are undertaking the exercise. It is not a new thing we are doing. We started this soon as we came into government. The president himself went around Accra to inspect waterways, and the directions were clear. We have to ensure that people's lives are saved from few individuals who refuse to comply or conform to the laws of the country. So we started last year. Along the line, we paused because we had issues with our machines that we were using. We've managed to fix the machines. We are only continuing what we left, and then we'll finish the exercise as expected.
You're still watching Newsfeed on Channel 1 Television. I am Samuel Akom. Still to come, 130 Ghanaian health professionals depart the country under government's labor export program. We'll bring you the details shortly. Do stay with us.
We are gearing up for the trip of a lifetime. Heritage Caravan 2026. From 1st to 8th March 2026, 8 days, 14 regions, 1 legendary caravan. We're touring Ghana in the most spectacular way on the Heritage Caravan, exploring the beauty, history, and stories that make our nation unique. Rolling out from Greater Accra through Eastern and OT, up north to the Northern and Upper East, and all the way to the Western region, hitting iconic destinations across Ghana. The Heritage Caravan 2026 will be fun, educative, refreshing, and most of all, remarkable. Stay connected. Follow Channel 1 TV and 97.3 City FM across all social media platforms for updates, and join the conversation using the hashtag Heritage Caravan 2026. The Heritage Caravan 2026 is powered by Channel 1 TV with support from City FM, and it's proudly sponsored by Hollard Insurance, Piva Beverages, Omni Basic Bank, Caveman Watches, Gino, and Didi Shito, and it's supported by Nanes Rice. Heritage Caravan 2026, experience Ghana like never before.
Welcome back to Newsfeed. About 130 Ghanaian health professionals have departed the country under the government's labor exchange program. The practitioners are en route to Antigua, where they will serve on a 3-year contractual engagement. The departure ceremony took place earlier today at the Kotoka International Airport and was led by the Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, on behalf of the government. Speaking on the initiative, Minister of Health, Kwabena Minta Kando, noted that the program is a strategic intervention designed to reduce the backlog of more than 80,000 unemployed health professionals across the country, while also positioning Ghana as a key exporter of skilled medical personnel.
Program is one of the interventions by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, to create more jobs for the good people of this country. And today is the turn of the health workers. As you all know, we inherited a backlog of more than 80,000 health professionals who have completed the various degrees and yet are at home and do not have jobs. So as part of government's intervention to create jobs for especially the health professionals, we are exploring avenues where countries have requested our health professionals to work with them. Today is about Antigua. We are working on Jamaica, Barbados, and Trinidad. And so we'll be doing that in batches.
Now, CTFM and Channel 1 TV, organizers of Ghana's premier cultural and heritage tour, the Heritage Caravan, have announced a lineup of corporate partners sponsoring this year's cultural and tourism initiative. The Heritage Caravan is scheduled to take place from March 1st to 8, 2026, featuring specially curated travel packages for cultural enthusiasts and adventure seekers. The sponsors include Hollard Insurance, Omni Basic Bank, Nanes Rice, Piva Beverages, Caveman Watches, Didi Shito, and Gino from GB Food. Speaking on the City Breakfast So, Head of Events and Partnerships, Fema Edunyame, expressed appreciation to the sponsors for their commitment to supporting initiatives aimed at promoting Ghana's heritage, national unity, and creative economy. Now, Lancaster University Ghana, in partnership with KGL Foundation, has concluded its Emerging Technologies Center Boot Camp, the training program, which lasted for 8 weeks, brought together more than 30 senior high school students for hands-on training in practical technology solutions and problem-solving skills. Speaking to Channel One News, Acting CEO and Provost of Lancaster University Ghana, Dr. Emmanuel Arthur said the initiative is part of the university's commitment to give back to society and prepare young people for what he describes as a technology-driven future.
This is an institution. I think that we want to demystify the use of technology. And as you heard for some of the students, these are students who don't have any science background, and yet they found the program very, very useful. So the first thing we wanted to do is to demystify technology and make it that irrespective of your background, it is possible for you to get involved in these new technologies, emerging technologies. Secondly, it's our give back to society. I think that we owe an obligation to the next generation of children that costs or money shouldn't be a determination of their access to these technologies.
This is Newsfeed on Channel One Television. Up next is Business with Nete Linete Ajao. Hi Natalie, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sam.
Yeah, we understand government has begun some procurement processes.
Yes.
What is it about?
About the rice glut that we experienced from last year. They are taking steps to ensure that they buy the excess rice and then give it to the national buffer.
Pretty much good news. Give us the details.
Okay. Now, government says it has begun procurement processes with rice millers across the country to mill excess paddy rice from farmers. According to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, this will enable the National Food Buffer Stock Company Limited to purchase the rice after milling. The move follows concerns raised by rice farmers over the lack of ready markets for their surplus produce, a situation that has contributed to a glut. Speaking during a working visit as part of his tour of the Pond irrigation scheme, the sector minister Eric Opoku assured farmers that aggregators will soon be deployed to mop up the excess paddy rice.
We have made available some resources to the National Buffer Stock, Food Buffer Stock Company, for them to step into the market for the first time in our history to mop up the excess. The only challenge we are having now has to do with paddy, because buffer stock is not procuring paddy. They are procuring milled rice. And so we are now having some contracts with the millers. We want to empower the millers, make resources available to the millers for them to buy, do the milling, and then send to buffer stock. In consonance with the procurement procedures, the National Food Buffer Stock advertised for interested millers and other parties to participate. I think last week when they briefed me, they are almost done with the procurement process. And within the shortest possible time, these aggregators will be sent to the various enclaves for them to go and then commence procurement of these excesses.
Now, last week, the Treasury recorded yet another oversubscription, raising 2.97 billion Ghana cedis above its target. Data from the Bank of Ghana shows that the total bids across the 91-day, the 182-day, and the 364-day T-bills reached 15.91 billion, of which the government accepted 12.83 billion Ghana cedis. Here is more. Investors wanted to buy much more T-bills than the government planned to sell. The demand was about 62% higher, making it the 9th week in a row that interest in Treasury bills has been very strong. It also shows that investors still trust government short-term investments. The 364-day T-bill was the most popular option. Investors applied to buy 7.45 billion Ghana cedis, but the government accepted 5 billion Ghana cedis of that amount. The 182-day bill also saw strong interest, with 4.29 billion Ghana cedis in applications, nearly all of which was accepted. The 91-day bill attracted 4.16 billion Ghana cedis, with 3.44 billion Ghana cedis taken up by the government. Analysts attribute the strong preference for the 364-day bill to its relatively attractive rate of return. Also, with expectations building around further monetary policy easing, analysts believe investors appear to be keen to lock in current yields before rates are adjusted lower. The interest rate on the 91-day remained the same as 11.19%. The 91-day bill remained unchanged at 11.19%, while the 182-day bill edged up by 2 basis points to 12.66%. The 364-day bill recorded the sharpest increase, rising 8 basis points to 13% from 12.98% the previous week. Looking ahead, government plans to raise 6.9 billion Ghana cedis at its next T-bill auction using the same 3 short-term options. Now, with just days to the implementation of the mandatory local cargo insurance, concerns among importers are mounting over the cost and compliance ahead of the February 1, 2026 start date. But insurance brokers insist the policy will ultimately strengthen Ghana's economy while protecting traders. The Insurance Brokers Association of Ghana has thrown its full support behind the Finance Ministry directive, describing it as a double win that retains premiums locally and improves claims handling. IBAC President Stephen Kwating Yeboah says the policy has been widely misunderstood, urging stakeholders to focus on its long-term benefits instead of the short-term apprehensions.
Just look at a typical businessman. You go to import goods from China. You take our currency, you buy dollars, and then you go and buy insurance from a Chinese company. But the shipper will say, I'm selling the goods to you on TI basis. TI means cost, insurance, and freight. So more monies and more dollars are taken from our economy and is given to another country where people buy the insurance. And when the goods come to the port too and there are damages, the Chinese insurance company will not come to Ghana here and adjust the claim for you. One key benefit that Ghana will get is that it's going to support the stability of our currency that we are currently enjoying, and it's going to also support importers. When you import goods and they get damaged, a local insurance company is going to help you. So that is why government is making it compulsory, and they want everybody to. So I want people to focus on the benefit aspect, how it benefits the country and how it benefits the businessman himself. So you know that when you have a container and it comes down and there is some damages, a local insurance company will adjust the claim and pay you. And that is one key benefit that we want Ghanaians to know. So don't see it as government is imposing something, or you see it as something that will benefit our nation and something that will benefit the individual companies that are going to be involved in the imports.
And that's all for business. I am Nete Ajaho.
And up next is sports with Yao AJ Minta. Hi, Yao. Good afternoon.
Hello there, Sammy.
Yes, I understand the Asante Kotoko coach has been speaking. What has he been saying?
Oh, yes. He has been praising his team. They got a win over Basake Holy Stars and ended a poor run of form for the club.
Give us the details.
Sure thing. Now, Kumasi Asante Kotoko head coach Abdul Karim Zito says he is satisfied with the output of his players in the team's 3-0 win over Basake Holy Stars in the Ghana Premier League. The win ended a poor run of games by the Porcupine Warriors, who recorded 2 draws and a loss prior to the game against Basake. Zito also noted that the attitude of Kotoko striker Albert Amo has changed since the latter returned from a brief stint with Libyan side Al Ali Benghazi.
I think we did a lot. We did a lot last week and this week, and it's been, and the attitude, the mind is changed. So, as a coach, you don't have to give up at all. Whatever the situation, you have to fight hard and then achieve. And then we are okay. When you look at the setup, the tactical play, the approach, and the discipline on the field by the players also approach, his attitude is changing. Yeah, the attitude change. And then when you go to play professional, certain things will force you to change your attitude. That is money. If you don't do it, they will deduct it. You understand me? When money is pushed into the game, everybody will be switching off.
because without it, what they normally do there is they deduct monies because they know they pay you more. So the approach he came with is quite different, even though it's the same amount we all know. It has added value to.
Now to tennis, and two-time tennis Grand Slam champion Coco Gauff has qualified to the quarterfinals of the 2026 Australian Open. The American player beat Karolina Muchova 6-1, 3-6, 6-3 in the fourth round to qualify. Gauff will take on veteran Elena Svitolina on Tuesday, January 27 in the quarterfinals. Here is Coco Gauff after taking a step closer to winning her first ever Australian Open title.
You know, my history has been tough with the serve, but honestly, I thought today was great. Maybe one loose service game in the second set, but after that, it was pretty good. And yeah, I think I'm really happy with just being able to close it on my racket. Yeah, I thought she definitely elevated her game, and I thought it was sometimes a bit passive, but it's really tough for her. She plays with so much variety. You never know what you're going to do. We got in some awkward forehand, the backhand, down the line rallies, and it's not easy, and I felt sometimes I was hitting good shots, and she was just hitting the ball really well. But yeah, I'm really happy to get through this one today. I think today I didn't panic. I felt like the second set could have easily went my way, so I knew I just had to capitalize on those chances in the third set, and I did that. Yeah, I think just trusting my shots. I think I get a little passive, but overall, I think in that last game, I was trusting my second serve, which I feel like is a stepping stone in the right direction to be able to hit as many second serves in the court that I did, especially in the two games that were long holds. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is just trusting myself, knowing that I put in the work in practice, and just knowing that it will show up in the matches.
And that's all for sports. I am Yao AJ Minta.
And that's it for Newsfeed on Channel 1 Television. I am Samuel Akom. Many thanks for watching.
Hello there. Thank you for choosing us. This is Breakfast Daily here on Channel 1 Television. I am Nanatufu Boateng. The show is interactive. Send us your thoughts, your comments, your contributions via the WhatsApp number on your screens. Join us on our socials. We're streaming live on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're interactive. We're engaging on X and Instagram. You can enjoy some exclusive video content from Channel 1 TV on TikTok as well. This morning I have three gentlemen in studio. Let me quickly say good morning to them, and then we'll get into our conversations for today. The Honorable Mohammed Adam Sukbaru is here. He's the Deputy Minister for Communication, Digital Technology and Innovations. Honorable, good morning.
Good morning.
And Happy New Year to you. We haven't seen you this year.
I tell you. And then you said Deputy Minister for Communication, Digital Technology and Innovations. Yes. You didn't mention my constituency. You know, when my boss says, Honorable Sanjad always says, for your constituency, that you know you have the 4-year mandate. You know, any other additional post, they appoint on any day contest. So I prefer to always.
You don't have security of office on that one. So
I always want people to address me the MP for Sisala West.
Thank you.
Before the deputy minister can
so
that,
yes,
the people that I represent
who voted for you.
Yes, the people I represent would know that. I mean, I am not running away from fact that I'm their representative. At every point in time, I must recognize myself as such.
Very well. So the MP for Sisala West, yes. Honorable Mohammed Adam Supari is here. Elvis Darko is the editor for the New Center newspaper as well as newscenter.com. Good morning, Elvis. Good to have you. And we have Ibrahim Ajay, a former assistant secretary at the office of the former president, Nana Akufo-Addo. Ibrahim.
Good morning.
It's good to have you.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, we have a lot to unpack this morning, so we're going straight into it. We're starting from the camp of the New Patriotic Party, NPP. Last week, a peace pact was signed among the presidential aspirants, those who are hoping to pick up the flag of the New Patriotic Party and lead it into the contest in 2028. The party will go to the polls on Saturday, January 31. 5 aspirants are looking to contest. Dr. Mahamudu Baumia, Dr. Brian Echampong, Kennedy Ohene Ejapong, Yao Osei Educhum Doctor, as well as Engineer Kwabna Ejay Ejapong. However, during the signing of the peace pact, some of observations were made. And so we're asking the question, was this peace pact riddled with error, as was the concern of, or the seeming concern of, if you like, Ken Ejapong? We saw him raise some issues with this particular peace pact. Ibrahim, I'll come to you because you belong to the fold of the New Patriotic Party. Yeah. So help us understand exactly what went on.
Okay, well, firstly, very good morning. And to our Honourable Member of Parliament from Sisala West. Let me give you that accolade. Of course, my brother Elvis Darko and yourself, and to our viewers and listeners. Let me frame it this way, first of all. The peace pact is something that is designed to communicate to the wider NPP body that the leaders or those vying to lead the party are one. They're unified. It's more symbolic, but within that symbolism there is indeed anchors to make sure that those who are vying for the party, should you lose, you make sure that you support the winning candidate. I mean, that's part of the conditions captured within it. But of course, we know that the 1992 Constitution is supreme. There's no other internal policy that can, you know, somehow supersede the Constitution. So if anybody is concerned that, oh, this undertaking, this pact will handcuff me and I can't take any other measures, should I feel aggrieved, that is not the case. Hence why I said it's more symbolic, and it's designed to communicate to everybody that, look, if the leaders or those wanted to be lead can agree in unity, why can't we in the ground? So let me take you back to 2023. We had primaries. This is not the first one. So the previous primaries was in 2023.
23, yes.
And from what I understand, the details contained in this particular pact are contained there. And Kennedy Ejapong, I'm using his name because he's the one who initially had issues with it, signed that one. I'm talking the undertaking.
The previous one.
The previous one.
Right.
This one now is to make sure, in terms of additions from the information that we have, there are now additional clauses or conditions to say that should you not succeed, you must, as a matter of fact, declare that you will support the winning candidate. You will not go independent, and you will not do anything that will be negative towards the campaign moving forward. I mean, these are the nuts and bolts inside. Now, were there errors? Let's go to the other aspirants. Now, I listened to what Kwabena Ejapong said. He said there were no errors.
Yeah.
On top of that, Nana, he mentioned that they were given the document days ahead, which makes sense.
Right.
You can't show me something and then have me look at it
and instantly
sign it.
Right.
So we have to ask Kennedy Ejapong, did you read that document? You should come and tell us. Because if you read it, and nobody is above reproach, nobody. There are documents that the Supreme Court appends its signature to And later, when there is an appeal, you can find that there's nobody's above reproach. So, Kennedy Ajapong, Honorable, did you see any errors? You were given the document. Because if you did, what's your job?
His spokesperson, Kwesi Kwarteng, says they did not get the document.
Now, let's capture that particular response. Other people get the document and you didn't. Remember, the NEC, the National Executive Council, it's not some, isolated body. It's something that its operations within the party are public. When I say public, internal party organs have access to what is being consumed and what is being given out. So he needs to really, this is high stakes politics. The moment you say something and later on you are found wanting, you lose all credibility. Because now, what's the remedy? For the party to say, we did give your office this particular document. And it makes sense. Why would we not give you the document? Where does the party, I'm talking about the NEC, where is the gain of giving you a document that you need to append your signature to? And we want you to be on board with that document. So it's my job to give it to you. It's not a document that you sign away your house, we are giving you a document that inures to the unity of the party. So I'm just saying to Kwesi Kwarteng, if you did not receive it, knowing full well that such a document is making the rounds, should you not have alerted people? Maybe it's gone to one of your officers, your campaign team members, and they have failed to then pass it on.
Right.
Then you make the necessary correction. So let me just capture his response within the context of my submission there. Now, you say you did not receive it. Now, in terms of errors, let's go to the errors now. Brian Achampong's camp say that there were no errors. Likewise, Kwabena Ajapong saying there are no errors. You say there are errors. Is it not to our own benefit, not only the MPP, but the wider political theatre that we are all in, to show us where those errors are? Does it, what it does, it bolsters your position. In paragraph 2A, clause 3, it said this and it is wrong. And we are presenting it to the public to confirm our status.
The Ken Kam says there was a missing provision. There was a missing provision.
Which was?
That states that voting centers will serve as collation centers where declarations will be made.
They say that's a missing provision.
That provision was
I'm not
missing.
aware of that. But if that being so, so is that the only reason? Why do I say so? When we all looked at the, I'm challenging that point, and I'll explain to you why I'm challenging. I personally have not seen the document, so I can't say, with all, let's say, authority that was not there or this should have been there. We all consume it generally through the lens of the media.
True.
Now, you're saying that that was not there. That particular provision. If that provision was not there, again, it takes me back to what I said earlier. Why did he not alert? Now, given that, when we saw Kennedy Ajapong, we all watched live. As soon as he saw the document, he squeezed his face. Did you not see? He squeezed his face. No problem. You can. Politics is bad emotion, so I have no problem there. But are you telling me that that provision, on glancing the document at the moment it was handed to you, then you knew that that provision was not there? It's not a one-page document. We need to do that, joining the dots, the analysis of why you showed emotional, maybe the word I want to use is, if not apprehension, disgust, or you weren't happy. Instantly, upon seeing the document, you saw that omission. It's like me taking this newspaper here. Within seconds, I say this is wrong. What did I do in those 2 seconds to squeeze my face? So if that provision is not there, it was instant. It was instant. And so we have to then query the integrity of that response, that that provision was not there. In any case, as I mentioned to you, it's about symbolism. If indeed that provision, accepting without admitting, or admitting without accepting, was indeed missing. You understand the environment in which you are in. You want to vie for the leadership of the party, and the party, you know, that, as I mentioned some time ago, a kingdom divided, Nana, can never stand. But a party united for a purpose can never be stopped from winning. And if you have that as part of your political DNA, and you see an omission like that, you can alert people, because we made sure that this time round, as opposed to 2023, that it was in the public domain.
Right.
It was a clear and deliberate function to say that let's not do these peace pacts and undertakings behind closed doors. Let the public see what it is. In terms of the visuals, it sends a message. And if you want to lead a party unified and you see something, there is a way, a leadership way, a statesmanship type of way to call the NEC. They were there. JFK was there. Joshua,
the General
Secretary was there. Party leaders were also there. And you can call somebody and say, oh, this thing is not there. And it can be done, even in the public glare, it can be done in a way, because you are helping the party by pointing out an omission.
Very well.
It can be, I'm landing, in a way that benefits the party. But your attitude, I'm talking Kennedy Ajapong right now, shows that you are somebody who does not have the party at heart. If I see,
if he didn't, he wouldn't insist that, in his opinion, what is right is done.
I said the attitude. If my job as a co-panelist here is to add value to this panel, and I see that maybe, there's a button missing, or there's something that I need to alert you to, is it not, I should do it discreetly. Cameras are on, but I can do it discreetly so that I don't embarrass you or the channel, because I want this channel to succeed. I'm invested in this channel because you invite me every day to give my opinion.
So it's the way and manner he went about it.
Given, and again, if indeed that omission was there, because it tells the NPP delegates something about the character of Kennedy Ajapong. What is the character that I'm referring to here? And you can see I'm being decorous even in my critique of him, because I'm looking beyond 31st January, just like Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia is. Have you seen him even say one thing? I know we'll go around, but I want to mention this. Let's link to it. You, Kennedy, go and call Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia a liar. You are then later proven that what you are saying cannot even be ascribed to him. It was Chairman Wontumi who made those statements regarding Adu Boahen and that he was ill to contest 1996. Having been shown clearly that the person you are attacking, in fact, is innocent of all crimes, you still refuse to do what? Apologize. Right. Then you say, and I'll land in some 10 seconds, I beg. I know we'll have another round. But it will maybe help my colleagues here when they come to do their submission as well. Then you go and say that if you don't win, then you'll turn the party into CPP. Am I right? That's what he said. Party delegates and the party base at large, I don't believe will ever, I'm saying it 3 times, forgive